Our exploration and understanding of history and the world around us have yielded many insights. Yet some discoveries are so astonishing that even specialists deem them bizarre. From peculiar creatures to enigmatic archaeological findings, here are the 20 most unusual things unearthed recently. Number 20. The largest creature of all time. Today, the largest creature is the blue whale. However, in history, the Paralithodes is among the contenders for this title. Paralithodes was discovered in the rock formations of Peru. The fossils unearthed there have painted a picture of an animal that is almost beyond comprehension in terms of size. While we often think of the blue whale as the ultimate giant of the animal kingdom, Paralithodes challenges this notion with its sheer enormity. The dimensions we're talking about here are staggering. Based on the fossil evidence, including vertebrae and rib fragments, researchers estimate that Paralithodes could have been over 100 feet long. It's also believed by many to be the heaviest creature to have ever existed. Paralithodes lived millions of years ago in a world that was vastly different from our own. The oceans it inhabited were teeming with life, including other large marine reptiles and mammals, but Paralithodes was likely the titan of titans. However, its actual existence is still to be confirmed, meaning researchers are debating whether we've accurately reconstructed and interpreted its fossils, or if we've exaggerated its significance. Number 19. Mysterious red glob. If you were to take a wild guess as to what this creature is, what would you say? This red blob was discovered in 2020 by resident Ron Newberry while walking at a beach at Ebby's Landing. Needless to say, it was incredibly perplexing. At first glance, this creature resembles an octopus, but even scientists weren't quite sure. Today, the general consensus is that this bizarre blob is a rare seven-armed octopus that has never been observed in the area before. This species of octopus is known to reside off the coast of British Columbia and in the deep waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It was quite surprising to find the octopus on the algae-covered rocks of the area. Unfortunately for us, we really don't know much about this species just yet. It's among the many creatures that reside in the ocean's deepest depths, making it impossible to study them as much as we'd like. All we know is that, although seemingly seven-armed, these creatures have a hidden arm tucked up inside their blob-like bodies near their eye that's used for breeding purposes. Like most animal species, the females of this species are typically much larger than males and have 8 fully visible arms. To this day, however, we're yet to fully study a specimen of this species. Number 18. Last descendant of the Beothuk. Imagine living your life, and suddenly you learn something about yourself that turns your life upside down. Life is full of surprises, and for a Tennessee man, life gave him whiplash when researchers found out that he may be the last descendant of an indigenous group that was long believed to have gone extinct. The Beothuk people are, or rather were, the indigenous inhabitants of Newfoundland, Canada. These people were known for their red ochre, which they used to cover not only their bodies but also their tools and weapons, earning them the nickname Red Indians by early European settlers. They were also hunters and gatherers who thrived on the abundant resources of their land, from the teeming salmon in the rivers to the plentiful caribou herds. However, with the arrival of European fishermen and settlers in the 16th century, the Beothuk's way of life began to unravel. Conflicts ensued, diseases spread, and access to essential resources became increasingly restricted. The Beothuk were pushed further into the interior of Newfoundland, away from the coast and their traditional fishing grounds. This displacement had dire consequences for their survival. The last of its people is believed to be Shanadithit. She's the previous full-blooded Beothuk, who was born around 1801. However, in 1823, Shanadithit and her family were found in a state of starvation. A settler took them in, but sadly, most of her family died from tuberculosis shortly after that. Shanadithit, however, survived for several more years, during which she became an invaluable source of information about her people. She worked with William Cormack, a founder of the Beothuk Institution dedicated to documenting the Beothuk way of life. Through her drawings and stories, Shanadithit provided information about the Beothuk's culture, language, and experiences. Shanadithit's death in 1829 marked the end of the Beothuk people as a distinct group, or at least this was the consensus until April 2020, when scientist Stephen Carr announced that they had found out that a man in Tennessee had DNA samples similar to Shanadithit's. Mitochondrial DNA also revealed that the man indeed had ties to the Beothuk. Needless to say, this man in question was nothing short of fascinated when he learned the news. Number 17. Bizarre Caecilian. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't dare to approach this creature if I saw it in the wild. Although limbless like a worm, this creature isn't an ordinary creepy crawly. This creature, with its distinct color, is a ringed caecilian, and it's classified as an amphibian. Scientifically speaking, amphibians are usually four-limbed vertebrate animals. This means they have 4 legs and a spine, and yet caecilian, while having a skull and a backbone, don't have any legs. This particular species is also unique for being an egg-laying amphibian that produces milk. Yes, you heard that right. This worm-like, eyeless creature can produce milk, or at least a substance that resembles milk. Through rare footage, scientists discovered that the female ringed caecilian secretes a nutrient-rich fluid from her reproductive tract, providing essential nourishment to her offspring. This milk is rich in fats, mirroring the ones we mammals produce. The ringed caecilian's care for its offspring doesn't stop at milk production. The young caecilian engage in a behavior known as maternal dermatophagy, feeding off their mother's skin, which provides them with additional nutrients essential for their development. It can't get much weirder than that, huh? We have yet to find an opportunity to study these creatures up close, so there may be a lot more mind-boggling secrets about these creatures that we have yet to discover. Number 16. Alien life forms in an abandoned uranium mine. In 2023, researchers discovered something unexpected in the radioactive Königstein mine in Germany, an impressive ecosystem of alien microorganisms. By alien, we mean beings that we've never observed before. This mine, active in the 1960s through the 1990s, was a bustling hub for uranium extraction, producing over 1,000 tons annually at its peak. But as the 20th century waned, so did the mine's productivity, leading to its closure and subsequent flooding as a remediation effort. It's within this dark, damp, and highly acidic environment, devoid of sunlight and rich in heavy metals and sulfates, that an alien ecosystem thrived. When you hear alien, you might think of little green men or menacing creatures from Hollywood movies. But again, in the world of microbiology, alien refers to life forms fundamentally different from anything we've encountered before. This microorganism isn't just surviving in a radioactive mine, it's thriving, making a home in a place considered inhospitable for most species on Earth. But that's not the only surprising thing. They seem to rely on uranium for their survival. If creatures can thrive in this extreme environment here on Earth, then organisms can also thrive in the extreme environments in outer space. This is just a theory for now, but by studying these alien organisms, we'll be able to learn more about how life could possibly thrive in the toughest and most extreme environments that exist. Number 15. A thimble with a romantic message. The thimbles you see today are, in most cases, not really anything special. Thimbles are small tools created to protect the finger when pushing the needle in sewing. And so, when a metal detectorist in Pembrokeshire discovered this thimble that looked similar to a sixpence coin, they believed it was of no importance. A closer look revealed that the thimble was far from ordinary. Centuries ago, this thimble was created and produced. A metal detectorist helped bring this forgotten treasure back to the surface, and it's now kept by the National Museum Cardiff. The thimble was discovered beneath the shade of an oak tree in the community of Cumdu, Pembrokeshire, in 2020. Upon investigation, the thimble dates to between 1682 and 1740. Unlike thimbles created today, this one was heavy, tall, narrow, and well-made. It had a rounded top soldered to the main body and had an intricate pattern. Now, what made this more special are the inscriptions surrounding it. It was a concise, sweet note, like, "Still and love ever." Now, what does this mean? Well, it's a short and romantic passage. These posy inscriptions can be seen on several 17th century silver thimbles across England and Wales. They're similar to rings with inscriptions, just perhaps more practical. Well, I can see this romantic treasure returning today, especially for people whose significant other loves to sew. What do you think? Number 14. China's dwarf village. Tucked away in a remote part of Sichuan province, China, lies a village that has puzzled researchers and travelers for many years. This is Yangtze, often referred to as the village of dwarves. What makes Yangtze stand out is the unusually high number of its inhabitants who have a form of dwarfism, a condition that results in a shorter stature due to genetic or medical reasons. Historical records and accounts suggest that at one point, up to 40% of the village's population was affected by this condition, with individuals reaching an average height of about 3 feet. While these numbers have decreased over time, the legacy and the mystery of Yangtze continue to intrigue. The phenomenon first gained widespread attention in the mid-20th century, although it's believed to have been present in the village for several centuries. Scientists and doctors have ventured into Yangtze, attempting to uncover the reason behind the high incidence of dwarfism. Some believe this phenomenon is caused by environmental factors, from mercury poisoning to the consumption of a specific type of grain, to the possibility of a genetic condition that became prevalent during the village's isolation and the resulting lack of genetic diversity. Despite extensive research, no definitive explanation has been found. In recent years, Yangtze has become a subject of fascination for tourists and the media, bringing positive and negative attention to the village. While tourism has provided a new source of income, it has also raised privacy concerns. Number 13. Humpback supergroups. Recently, scientists have been quite baffled by the behavior of humpback whales. It seems that they've begun forming supergroups, a behavior not previously observed in the species. But what's there to be worried about, and what exactly are supergroups? Well, you see, humpback whales are known for their solitary nature or tendency to move in small, family-oriented groups. And so, seeing them gather in groups of 20 to 200 individual whales is quite puzzling. These supergroups have been spotted off the coast of South Africa, a place where humpback whales usually pass through during their migration. In recent years, however, they've gathered in this spot and joined together to form massive groups to engage in feeding frenzies. Researchers are still unsure why this is happening, but we have some theories. Researchers believe this behavior might be linked to the abundance of prey, like krill and small fish. By forming supergroups instead of their usual smaller pods, they can exploit these temporary food sources. Even so, scientists are fascinated by this new development. After all, this is a relatively new observation. This goes to show just how adaptable humpback whales are. However, this might also be hinting at something unknown about our ecosystem. Number 12. Methane leak at the deepest point of the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea is a body of water known for its unique conditions, including low salinity and brisk temperatures. But in 2023, researchers discovered something strange in the Baltic Sea: methane. This huge methane leak, discovered in the Baltic Sea, spans about 7.7 square miles, resulting in masses of gas bubbles rising almost all the way to the dark water surface. This leak in methane occurred about 1,300 feet beneath the water's surface during an expedition to the Landsort Deep. Luckily, scientists immediately addressed the issue. Unfortunately for us, the challenge of preventing these leaks remains. Number 11. A child and 142 dogs. Imagine stumbling upon an ancient burial site only to discover not just a single child's remains but also those of 142 dogs. Yes, you heard that right. A child and 142 dogs all buried together. Throughout history, dogs have been known to be a significant part of the lives of humans, and so it makes experts wonder just why such a large pack of dogs was buried alongside a single child. The burial site itself, the carefully arranged final resting place, suggests that this was no ordinary child, or perhaps that the dogs held an extraordinary place within this community or culture. Could the dogs have been seen as the child's guardians in the afterlife? Or does this indicate a ritual or a practice that involved dogs in a way we've not seen elsewhere? Or perhaps were these remains simply part of an accident? It's up to you to speculate because, to this day, we have yet to confirm what happened to this child and his many canines. Number 10. 350-million-year-old alien tree. Humans and animals aren't the only things that looked incredibly different in the past. Even plants and trees from over 350 million years ago look like alien species. Just take, for example, this magnificent discovery unearthed by archaeologists just recently. Researchers in New Brunswick, Canada, discovered a fossil of the 350-million-year-old alien tree known, scientifically, as Samigillia lewisii. Initially, researchers only discovered small fossils of the tree until they found the incredibly well-preserved remains of one. The fossils were so well-preserved that researchers managed to reconstruct and create a model of the tree. The species allegedly measured up to 18 feet in diameter and had a long, narrow trunk with a crown of leaves. Even scientists were quite baffled by how bizarre and otherworldly this tree species looked. If it weren't for an earthquake about 350 million years ago, these fossils wouldn't have been preserved. A quake millions of years ago caused the bank to collapse into a lake where the trees were immediately covered in mud and silt. After being solidified, it was preserved as a fossil, giving us a glimpse of the fauna several million years ago. Number 9. Oldest lipstick. This old lipstick is one of the greatest discoveries of the century. This lipstick was discovered in Iran and is believed to date back to around 3,600 years ago, during the Bronze Age. This red lipstick is made from natural pigments and reveals quite an unexpected practice from our ancestors. Researchers found that this ancient cosmetic was crafted using a mix of animal fat and red pigments derived from ochre, demonstrating an early form of chemical processing. By observing and studying the lipstick and its container, Researchers discovered that it was meant to be held with one hand and was most likely paired with a small handheld mirror. How cool is that? This ancient lipstick tells us that the desire to beautify oneself and use color for personal adornment transcends millennia. This lipstick is the oldest we've discovered as of yet, and it could be the very first lipstick ever made. Number 8. Dogs spent 3 days staring at blue wall. Now, for something more modern and relatable, researchers were perplexed by the case of this dog that spent 3 whole days just staring at a blue wall. Yes, you heard that right. This canine somehow developed a bizarre fixation for this blue wall. This odd case occurred in 2018. The dog in question, named Chicho, is a Labrador retriever living in the Argentinian city of General Roa. Now, Chicho is adorable, but he just spent at least 3 days staring at the blue wall of a bus station for a seemingly unexplainable reason. Eyewitnesses also shared that they saw the dog wagging its tail occasionally while staring blankly at the wall. A ghost, an insect, bizarre energy, or something else entirely. Veterinarians tried to figure out why, but investigations and checkups always resulted in a dead end. Because of this bizarre behavior, Chicho's fame skyrocketed, and unfortunately, the owner decided that Chicho might not be safe anymore in public because of the newfound attention pinned on him. And so, the owner decided to keep Chicho inside his home and his yard to keep him safe. He also shared that he had no idea as to why his dog keeps on staring at the blank blue wall. Now, this is perhaps common knowledge, but dogs only have 2 types of color receptors in their eyes, called cones, as opposed to our 3 receptors. While we can detect red, blue, and green colors, dogs can only see blue and yellow. This means the world through a dog's eyes resembles a desaturated photograph, where blues and yellows stand out, but reds and greens can be tricky for a dog. A red ball on green grass doesn't stand out much. It may appear as a very dark brown color against the yellow background. This is because what's red to us doesn't appear red to them, and their main version of green is more like different shades of gray or a yellowish color. So when picking toys for your dog, you might want to consider colors they can easily distinguish. But back to Chicho, perhaps there's something in that wall that looks incredibly eye-catching to him. What exactly it is, well, that's still a mystery. Any theories? Feel free to share it in the comments down below. Number 7. Prehistoric lines across Malta. In the heart of the Mediterranean lies the archipelago of Malta, and in this region are prehistoric lines, hundreds, if not thousands, of them. These ancient tracks, found across the islands, particularly at locations like Misragar Ayalkbur, often referred to as Clapham Junction, due to its dense network of ruts, resemble the complex pattern of a railway. The ruts are characterized by their dual parallel grooves, which vary in depth and distance apart. In some places, they're as deep as 24 in and lead to seemingly impractical destinations, like directly off cliff edges or into the sea. This suggests that their creation and use could not have been straightforward or uniform. Speculations about their age place them anywhere from the beginning of the Bronze Age around 2000 BC to the Phoenician period around the 7th century BC. Many speculate they're connected to the numerous megalithic temple sites across Malta and Gozo. If true, these lines have a significant role in the prehistoric landscape, possibly related to the transportation of materials or as part of a broader ceremonial or functional network. Despite numerous studies, including modern scientific approaches that consider the physical forces required to create such ruts on wet rock, a definitive explanation remains elusive. The uniform width and depth of many ruts suggest a single age and use, yet their true purpose, how they were made, and by whom remain some of Malta's most enduring mysteries. Number 6. Largest gold nugget ever found. Recently, a metal detectorist got lucky when he discovered the largest gold nugget ever found in England. Yes, you heard that right. A metal detectorist in England, Richard Brock, discovered what's believed to be the largest gold nugget ever found in the country. Despite using faulty equipment, the nugget found in the Shropshire Hills weighs 64.8 g and is estimated to be worth around £30,000 to £40,000, or around $38,000 to $50,700. Brock, who was using an older, malfunctioning detector after arriving an hour late to the site, stumbled upon the nugget within just 5 minutes of starting his search. This discovery has sparked interest and excitement within the metal detecting community. Unfortunately, not everyone is as lucky as Brock. Now it's time for today's topic. A 3,500-year-old discovery makes headlines after it emerges from the waters of the River Tigris. This bizarre specimen was discovered in the waters of the Tigris, emptying into the Persian Gulf from the mountains of the Armenian highlands through the Syrian and Arabian deserts. The Tigris is a historical and significant location. It's among the lifelines of the civilizations that thrived in Asia, With these bizarre remains being brought to light, many began to speculate that it's a well-preserved body belonging to an unprecedented civilization that thrived in the region. It looks human but also doesn't. A hoax? An undiscovered species? I'll let you be the judge. Number 5. Oldest jellyfish. Recently, scientists discovered fossils in the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia that date back 500 million years. And no, they don't belong to dinosaurs. They belong to massive prehistoric jellyfish. These jellyfish are part of a group of animals known as cnidarians, including sea anemones and corals. These creatures are pivotal in understanding the early evolutionary history of life on Earth. However, due to their soft bodies, jellyfish fossils are incredibly rare. Most of what we know about ancient life comes from hard-shelled or boned creatures that fossilize well. Soft-bodied organisms like jellyfish leave behind few fossils, making these fossils a rare and valuable find. Number 4. Demonic face syndrome. Imagine waking up one day, and instead of seeing the face of your family or significant other, you see the face of a demon. Sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? However, for some, this is their reality. For those with prosopometamorphopsia or PMO, looking at people might as well be a curse for them to bear. This visual disorder alters someone's perceptions of faces and, while it can vary, can be debilitating. Imagine looking at your friends, family, or even your own reflection, and instead of seeing the comforting familiarity of human features, you see distorted, twisted visages that look more demonic than human. PMO is caused by abnormalities in the brain's fusiform gyrus, a region crucial for face perception. This doesn't mean that those affected are seeing hallucinations. Rather, their brains are interpreting visual information in a distorted way. This is the condition of 59-year-old Victor Shera, who experienced the disorder one November morning in 2020. Imagine his confusion and fear when he first experienced it. He didn't know whether he was dreaming, having hallucinations or delusions, or something else entirely. Shera was a middle-aged truck driver, and he always had sharp eyesight. For someone in his line of work, this disorder has many complications. He shared that when he first experienced the symptoms, he thought that he was transported into a demon world. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't ever want to experience a disorder just like this. Life is already hard as it is. Now, imagine dealing with people that look like demons. That's probably the true meaning of hell on Earth. Number 3. 14th century castle. Now, a fortified 14th century castle, complete with a moat, is the last thing you'd expect to see beneath a hotel, but that's exactly what archaeologists discovered in France just recently. This was a structure from the Middle Ages, a time when knights, lords, and ladies were the order of the day, and castles dotted the European landscape. Along with what remained of the castle were jewelry, pots, pans, and padlocks. Archaeologists at the French National Institute of Preventive Archaeological Research, or INRAP, excavated the courtyard and cellars of the Loire Hotel in the spring of 2023, and this excavation led to this discovery. We know that the hotel was constructed back in the 18th century, and while it's recognized as a place with a long history, no one expected a 14th century castle to be directly beneath it. This castle is believed to be the remains of the Château de Nantes, a fortress in the residence of John IV, Duke of Brittany, in 1381. You see, from the 10th to 16th centuries, Brittany was a medieval feudal state. It was like a tiny country, and in 1365, with John IV on the throne, this castle was established. Unfortunately, his grandson, Francis II, caused the castle to fall into disrepair after moving the duchy capital out of Nantes. The renovations then took place, and the castle, being in a state of disrepair, was turned into a completely different building. It was only recently that we discovered this magnificent building again. Number 2. Grim fate of Neanderthal child. Life is tough. This statement is true for each walk of life, and this transcends species. Today, we battle emotions, security, poverty, loneliness, and the complexities of living in the modern world. Our predecessors, they needed to do what they could to survive for another day. The Neanderthals are among the species that we believe to make up the evolutionary journey of modern man. Back then, they lived in a competitive environment where neither food nor safety was ever guaranteed. In fact, there were times when they became the meal instead. Yes, you heard that right. Recently, scientists discovered bones in Poland. These bones, about 15,000 years old, are believed to have belonged to a child, a young Neanderthal who was caught and eaten by a giant prehistoric bird. The bones showed distinct marks that indicated they had passed through the digestive system of a large bird. It might sound grim, but there's a possibility that the bird didn't necessarily hunt the child, but rather scavenged its body after it passed. It's possible the child was already deceased, and the bird, perhaps seeing an opportunity for a meal, scavenged what remained. Either way, it's a grim reminder of the harsh times our ancestors endured. Number 1. Pyramid in Antarctica. For so long, researchers and the public have been fascinated by the idea of a civilization being kept hidden by the frozen expanse of Antarctica. And so, this discovery quickly spread around online forums. In this photo is allegedly a pyramid discovered beneath the ice of Antarctica. This is the so-called Pyramid of Antarctica, a mountainous structure that at first glance resembles the pyramids built by ancient civilizations thousands of miles away in Egypt. The discovery of this pyramid-like peak was made possible by satellite imagery and explorations that have penetrated the remote and harsh environments of Antarctica. As the images of this pyramid-shaped mountain circulated on the internet, they quickly became a hotbed of speculation and theory. Could it be possible that an ancient civilization once inhabited the frozen wastelands of Antarctica? For most people, this pyramid doesn't confirm anything, and it's just a natural formation. However, this doesn't stop many from theorizing about aliens and unknown civilizations that thrived in Antarctica without our knowledge. Which of these discoveries do you think is the most bizarre? Let me know in the comments down below. Also check out our other cool videos showing up on the screen right now, and we'll see you in the next video.